Gus Cummins, award-winning shape artist. He uses his brain scans in his award-winning art.
Okay, it's a little bit gory, but a piece of my skull was opened up and electrodes were planted directly into my brain before surgery, and it's incredibly pure and clean data from about 128 electrodes. I could tell you all the technical details.
Oh, do. Tell us the technical details.
Okay, it's recorded at 256 hertz, 256 pulses per second, from 68 electrodes at any one time. And I feed this through what's called the Pure Data application, which is an application that you can build your own interface with effectively. And you can output visual or audio, and it's just fascinating to work with. So I generate music or visuals. I'm coming more and more towards the music, really, and I want to get musicians to output that.
All out of your brain?
Yeah, and
Wonderful.
I think it's especially of significance to me because it's the part of my brain that was removed without success. That makes it of great emotional significance to me. So the part of my brain that was removed in that surgery is what's called your temporal lobe, and it was in my left temporal lobe. That's responsible for about half of my memory.
Gus has seizures. The operation didn't stop them.
That's the way it is.
And what do you think about organisations like SHAPE?
It sounds like I might just... I'm not just saying it, because I value them very, very highly. I'm so glad they're there. They're crucial to me. I started going up to SHAPE, let me see, I was trying to work out how long post-surgery it was. It was getting on for 2 years post-surgery, I think. And it just got me back on my feet creatively, got me moving again. And that was, yeah.
One film Gus made uses his body, his brain and his epilepsy.
And I walk up the street, and then I stop in the street, and I stand still. At this point, the people around me become blurred and semi-transparent. This represents the way my consciousness starts to slip away, and then the screen just turns black, and the sound continues. And it's because my consciousness is gone, and I've slipped away into another place. And all the way along there's a soundtrack. The soundtrack's generated from the EEG from my brain, passed through the Pure Data digital interface that I was talking about to generate sound. And that was the video that won a world award from the International League Against Epilepsy, and that made me feel very proud of my own work. I felt recognised in the art world, but also it was quite strange. I was recognised by aspects of the medical world as well. And so I took my work to Liverpool to show it, and that's where Dada Fest happens, and that's the Deaf and Disabled Arts Festival. And so that was the first time I thought of it as disability arts, or I was told it was disability arts. And so that opened up a whole new world for me, and began showing my work in all kinds of disability arts events, exhibitions.
Brilliant.
That was a real positive.
So, how did Gus start to make art from his brain?
I think what happened was I finally started facing up to my condition, and that was a really positive step for me. I'm glad I did that. And I'd never, up until that point, I'd never even thought of epilepsy as a disability. I'd never called it that. There's lots of things I've never done. I think I'd never really accepted it in a lot of ways.
Gus explores new creative ways of recording his body.
And what I'm also doing now is looking at medical videos at the same time as this data is gathered from your brain. It's called video telemetry. The telemetry is a gathering of the data. Hospital videos are made of the patient's body movement. So I've got videos of my own body movement, and I'm using those videos to generate initially linear graphs of my body movement, and I'm using those graphs to make choreographic scores. And then I'm going to use these scores to actually dance to myself. Well, that's about it really. Generate dance and music.
That's fantastic.
Well, let's hope so. We shall see.
And where do you think you might show this stuff when it's done? Do you know?
Where will I show it?
Yeah. Somewhere like Shape, probably.
That's on my list. I haven't asked Shape yet.
But even with awards, Gus still fights barriers. The awards that you got, Dada Fest, were a massive boost at the time. Can you explore what you felt at the time a bit more for me, please?
Wow. Just incredible, I don't know how to put it, fantastic surprise. Didn't see it coming at all. It just gave me so much self-confidence and felt so good about myself. Just kept applying for more and more things as a result. Don't know how else to put it really. Another reason I don't know how else to put it is it's kind of difficult to remember, if that doesn't sound ridiculous. I feel like I talk about it quite a lot, but having brain surgery is a kind of an odd experience. You don't quite feel like the same person afterwards. As you have a piece of your brain taken out and you're not quite the same person. So you have to rebuild yourself, and that's another thing that knocked me back afterwards. And I don't think my work is exactly the same.
Could it be better though? Could the work improve, do you think?
I'm doing my best, I really hope so. I feel maybe more, what's the word? More driven, even more driven than I was before now.
Well, good for you. That's great. This is an art documentary. Let's see Gus's art and hear his sound works.
Okay, this is a silkscreen print, and it was generated from the transparency, which is from a brain scan from when I was diagnosed with epilepsy. At that point, I'd been having a variety of partial seizures for 3 years, but when I came back and told my doctor that I'd had a seizure, I didn't say I'd had a seizure, I told him what happened, he failed to diagnose me. It wasn't until I had a second tonic-clonic seizure that I got diagnosed, and that's when this brain scan happened. There's kind of certain parallels with this image. This was nearly 20 years later, maybe 15, 20 years later. Brain scans got a bit more sophisticated by then. My seizures had been held at bay by medicine for quite a long time. By this time they'd come back with quite a vengeance, and I'd started being tested for the possibility of brain surgery to cure my epilepsy. I only dug this out the other day in preparation to show it to you, and I didn't feel quite so disappointed at not finishing it, because it suddenly made a lot more sense. there's this big blank area, because that's what seizures are all about, is, you know, your thought process stopping and suddenly you're blank, there's nothing there. It's another one in the same series. Obviously the blanks made a lot of sense to me. Image of a brain, maybe just the texture of a brain, or is it just the texture of the feelings? I don't know. I kind of don't feel the need to know. Well, again, I dug this out just yesterday and engaged by it massively. First of all, this very old image of somebody's brain. I've forgotten who the original was by now. But more importantly, there's a quote here from Sor Juana de Aspaje. She was a Mexican nun. It says, "This coloured counterfeit that thou beholdest is naught but a cunning dupery of sense." It's extracted from a poem she wrote and totally relates to the experience I still have when I have a seizure. This coloured counterfeit that thou beholdest is a cunning dupery of sense. Yeah.
The feeling of Gus leaving himself pervades Gus's artworks.
Well, this was just a mixture of medical data and myself, me dissolving into my condition, maybe? I don't know. No, I don't know. Maybe just looking for the aesthetics of the image. Nothing more to it. I'm not sure. I like the image though. Yeah. I think that was the very first image I ever made about epilepsy. And that was just taking an audio recording of a nurse talking to me when I was semi-conscious. It's quite odd what happens during a seizure sometimes. The patient can speak, but they're not really conscious. They don't retain any memory of it after the seizure. A seizure, just again using medical images. This time it's using an MRI scan, this magnetic resonance imaging scan of my brain. Also during a seizure, consciousness is very inhibited, so I don't really see through my eyes, I can't really talk. It represents all those things. There's a cross, maybe post-seizure, sometimes almost a religious experience. I feel that at this point I was hitting maybe my best point in making work on the subject. But it wasn't long after that really I got a little bit slowed down by my medical treatment. Yeah. Okay.
Shape is proud to support artists like Gus as they create.
Is that
right?
Okay. Okay, this was produced by medical videos of myself having seizures. Got medical videos back from the hospital, and this is just tracing the movements of my limbs during seizures. That's what generates the lines. And I went on after this to use the same lines to generate sound. And what I'm doing now is working with the same kind of lines to try and generate dance, which is quite a cycle, really, using movement to make plans and using the plans to regenerate movement.